Welcome, everybody, to the Central Division playoff mode. I'm Brandon Cassidy alongside Thomas West. We have a great show for you today.
The following is a presentation of the Fan Media Network.
Yep, looking forward to getting into this one, Brandon. There is some really interesting series coming up, especially the battle in the south of Florida and Tampa Bay, Carolina, and Nashville. There's some good stuff to get into here for sure.
Yeah, Nashville, we were talking with Pete Weber earlier. If you haven't seen the episode, do check it out. It'll be there. It'll be up at the top corner there. Do check it out. And we were talking with Pete Weber, and even Pete Weber was suggesting that Nashville can make a run of it, and they did in fact do it.
Yeah, that was an interesting conversation as well, because when we were talking to Pete, it was before the trade deadline, right?
Yeah.
And we were saying, well, this Nashville team might trade away their whole team. They might not even be going for it. But credit to the Predators. They kept their guys. They said, we're going to make a run at it. They did, and they made the playoffs. It paid off. They beat out the Dallas Stars in the Central Division for the 4th spot. But regardless of that, they are in pretty tough right now.
Yeah, they have a very, very tough thing ahead of them. Speaking of tough, these puck chillers, they are tough. They'll freeze and they'll keep your drink cold. So be sure to check those out. They're up on our Instagram. Our social media tag is here at the bottom. So do check those out. You can enter to win these at the end. The draw is on the 22nd. So check those out. That being said, Thomas, let's get into some Central Division matchups. These are, like you said, Carolina versus Nashville. This is a matchup that I don't think Nashville wanted.
Carolina's got a high-powered offense. The goaltending is kind of interesting for them right now. They had Alex Nedeljkovic, who came in, and he's been really good in pretty much all of his starts. That being said, he also is a new goalie, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. I could think you kind of make reference to the Philip Grubauer situation a couple of years ago. Kind of similar right now with Carolina, because this is a team that can go really far in the playoffs. They have a really good team. Sebastian Aho was on fire this year. Dougie Hamilton is one of the best defensemen in the league right now. He had a great year. And then Alex Nedeljkovic, it comes down to him. They have backup for sure. They got James Reimer in there, and Peter Mrazek as well, who'll probably be the backup this year for this series. But then you look at the Nashville Predators side as well. They got some good guys. Roman Josi, he's a guy he'll match up with some of the top guys. He'll score a few goals as well for them. Eli Tolvanen, a guy who might be a bit of an X factor in this series. I kind of think of him as kind of what Nick Suzuki did for the Montreal Canadiens last year, where he came into playoffs and he was really good, young guy. Kind of a similar thing, I think, with him. And Phil Forsberg as well, really good for the
Nashville, as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, a team that's kind of facing a rebuild if this doesn't work out. And with Rene having it being his last hurrah at the playoffs, as it were, with Saros essentially being, I believe, favored to be in net for Nashville, it will be in tough. Tampa Bay versus Florida. Now, this is a series that is exciting. This is great for Florida hockey.
Yeah, it is. And that's a really good point. So let's talk about that right off the top. Aside from the who's going to win this series or anything like that, the Florida Panthers, in Tampa Bay, they have a pretty good hockey market, actually. A lot of people come out to the Amalie Arena and check out those games. But for the Florida Panthers, it's kind of a different story. They've kind of been the laughingstock of the league in terms of trying to draw in attendance. But you get a playoff series and it's Tampa Bay versus Florida, you're going to have a hard time convincing me that people in Florida aren't going to come out and watch that battle, just because it's not even about the hockey. It's just the rivalry between the two cities.
Yeah, especially with the season that the Panthers have had. Let's be honest, no one really expected them to come out as well as they did. And just underneath the Carolina Hurricanes in the standings, they've had a lights out season so far.
Yeah, they have been really good. Tampa Bay, one of the best goalies in the league, and
Vasilevsky, that's right.
Very important. Actually, why don't we focus on the goaltending battle for a second right now, because we go to the other side for Florida. Sergei Bobrovsky has stolen playoff series before. Boy, he's not lined up to do that again, as he's had a very tough stretch, especially lately. I think it's going to be Chris Driedger who starts this series for the Florida Panthers, who's been good. I think he has a 2.2 goals against average, which that'll play. Jonathan Huberdeau as well. He's had a breakout season. He was good last year, I guess, as well, but he's typical Jonathan Huberdeau. It's just tough to be going up against the Stanley Cup champs, because regardless of who they have on their team, which they have a lot of really good guys. Oh, by the way, Nikita Kucherov is coming back to the Tampa Bay Lightning. But, I mean, we were talking earlier, and it's tough to see Florida winning this series just because Tampa's been there before. All the guys are the same guys from last year on the team. You know, they have guys who haven't been great in the regular season, like Alex Killorn. He's probably going to step up in the playoffs again. So Florida's in tough here, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great regular season. It's almost the Cinderella season that Florida Panthers were hoping for. But reality is about to set in. This is a Tampa Bay team that has depth. They've been here, as we said. This is not a team to take lightly. They may have performed average, not even poorly. They performed average in the regular season. Realistically, this is a team that knows we don't have to be tops of the division in order to make it into the playoffs. We know, we could perform just enough to get in, and once we're there, hammer down. And I have trouble finding Florida actually winning out in this, besides the state and Florida hockey. Like, Florida hockey is going to win out in this, but I don't know about the Florida Panthers. This is going to be an interesting series. Let's go kind of specialty teams here. Let's discuss this. Carolina versus Nashville. This is a David versus Goliath scenario in the specialty teams. And realistically, if Nashville gets into power play or PK trouble this series, if it wasn't already weighted towards Carolina, boy, this just sent the stone over the edge. Like, this is a sunk series for them, with Nashville having only a 17.6 power play, Carolina with a 25.6. That's 8%. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but when you're talking about a quarter of the time rather than, a third or less than, I mean, not a great statistic in Nashville's favor. Moving forward into the PK here, let's talk about Nashville. Nashville only having a 75.4%. That's not enough. This is no way going to translate into the playoffs favorably for Nashville, especially with Carolina having an 85.2. That's one of the tops in the league. I mean, like, this is definitely not a good matchup for these two teams.
Yeah, and doesn't it always feel, I know it shouldn't be any different, but it always feels like special teams are way more important in the playoffs. And I think that has something to do with the fact that fans are watching a little more intently in the playoffs, right? When a power play or penalty kill happens and your team is either on it or trying to kill it, you're not looking down at your phone, right? You're locked on the TV at all times. So it might be a little bit of that coming into play. But that's a problem. That's going to be a problem for Nashville. They gotta stay out of the box for sure.
I mean, moving into the next series, though, this is a completely different story. Looking between the two Florida teams, the Panthers on the one hand having a 25.6% power play. This is a team that can actually do, a 20.5%. Sorry, my mistake. 20% on the power play for the Panthers this year, and the Lightning 22.4. These are two teams that are fairly evenly matched when it comes to the power play. The PK, not so much. I mean, the Florida Panthers has 79.8, and the Tampa Bay Lightning with its 84.2. This is a Tampa Bay again. This is a team that knows how to win games enough so as not to spend the budget and be spent by the time they hit the finals. This is a team that knows, okay, we just have to get it out of the zone and we just have to clear it. Whereas the Panthers may have made a couple of mistakes. So this is going to be a series that I don't know that it's going to be determined by specialty teams. I think that this is going to be a full-on battle that I think Florida hockey is going to win out on this one.
With Nikita Kucherov coming back, that could make a little bit of a difference as well, but we haven't even really seen him this year, so it's hard to say what happens with that.
Yeah.
The one small thing I will add on to that is if special teams might come into play in terms of who gets more of them in this series, because neither of these teams have scored a ton of goals in the regular season. So we're not looking at a particularly high scoring series here.
Yeah, and I mean, especially looking into the picks, as it were, of the series, I think that you're absolutely right. The lower scoring series, I mean, we've seen the opposite. We've seen low scoring teams explode in the playoffs, and they've done tremendous, and they've blown out teams out of the water and swept some series. But I don't think a sweep is going to necessarily be the case between the two Florida teams. But let's talk about Carolina and Nashville. Who do you got winning this series, and in how many games?
Yeah, Carolina, Nashville. I don't know. I guess, yeah, sorry, Pete. I'm not going to take the Nashville Predators in this, but I will give them winning 2 games. I think we'll go Carolina in 6.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest my sincerest apologies to the Predators as well as the Predators fans. I don't see this going even to 6. I see it going to 5. Carolina and 5 is my pick there. Going forward to the Florida versus Florida, though, this is, oh, man. Okay. Truth or dare, let's go.
Okay, I think that I think Tampa Bay is going to come away with this, but I'll definitely say this game goes 7 series. So I'll go Tampa Bay Lightning, reigning Stanley Cup chance, move on.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to suggest that. I mean, I wouldn't go 7, I'd go 6, but Tampa Bay in 6 as well. I don't think that the Panthers have the depth. I mean, Bobrovsky's had an iffy season, so if he doesn't perform to the absolute top of his level, it could be a shorter series for the Florida Panthers. That being said, once again, thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. If you like this episode, please give us a comment, give us a like, and subscribe, as well as hit us in an email and let us know. We might even have you on the show to discuss your favorite team's performance of late. And that being said, we'll see you guys in the next playoff special.
To host a fan show or appear as a fan on a fan show, simply create a profile on Fan Media's iOS app or website. Select your teams and make a short intro video on your phone. Show hosts, reporters, former players, and superfans can use our Get Verified feature and make an intro video as well, and our mobile newsroom staff will reach out.